very quiet. It's the time of night for a haunting. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about Scooby Doo instead.
Yeah, it's the annual tradition of me and him meeting up at MAGFest, watching a Scooby Doo movie, and then thinking about it afterwards on an on-camera random unscripted vlog.
Yeah, I'm not wearing my sunglasses because it is actually nighttime while I'm filming this, and even though if I wore my sunglasses at night, so I could, that would just make things hard to see.
Anyway, this time it was Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers.
Well, that's not really an appropriate title. It's just that Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers and the sheriff and the Confederate general and the escaped gorilla and the hillbillies and the girl who wants to have sex with him. That just wouldn't roll off the tongue very well.
Yeah, because there's this main plot where Shaggy hires the Boo Brothers to help them deal with ghosts while he goes hunting for a treasure in this house that he inherited from his Civil War era uncle, who must be around 150 years old at this point. And then, while that's going on, there's three other pointless subplots that have basically almost nothing to do.
But they do explain the backstory of at least one crucial element. The reason why the Daisy May ripoff, who's the sister of the Lil Abner ripoff, who wants to have sex with Shaggy, is so strong, is because she took a course through the mail. That was actually the one thing I was not wondering about.
Yeah, and they do slightly explain the circus ape as to why there was a circus ape in a Confederate plantation, which is that he apparently escaped from a train.
Yes, but there was also a dead circus ape that was also there.
Which conveniently looks exactly the same.
And I'm guessing, the hunchback, Mr. Creepley, or whatever his name was just looking after it. He likes dead things.
I like the idea that there's like three now.
Mm-hmm.
There's the stuffed ape, there's the ghost of the stuffed ape that hunchback guy thinks is there, and then there's this actual circus ape that has nothing to do with the other two, but he's just there anyway.
Yes, you see, children shouldn't play with dead things, but hunchback should.
Ever since the Colonel bagged him and brought him here, his spirit has been haunting these grounds.
Oh, that's ridiculous. There ain't no such thing as an ape ghost.
Yeah, this is a thing that's not really elaborated on too much, but they imply that the haunting is actually the sheriff who's hanging around there for no reason whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Except they keep implying that no, the sheriff's not doing all the haunting. There's actually ghosts here, but we're never going to elaborate why they're there. Except for the Boo Brothers, who are hired to be there. It's literally their job.
It doesn't really mesh too well because it's going for the standard Scooby Doo TV show setup, right down to the fact that it has a TV show style intro sequence, and it's setting up the fact that there's going to be a huge reveal that the ghosts aren't real, but then it introduces actual ghosts into the story, and that just muddles the plot even further.
And not just the Boo Brothers or these other things from the plantation that, for all we know, are there. There's also that in the intro, the whole reason they leave seems to be is because they got scared out of their house by a ghost delivering the message that Shaggy just inherited a plantation.
Completely apropos of nothing. For all we know, their house is just itself haunted. But there are some interesting elements, like the fact that all of these jewels were apparently hidden not by Mr. Creepley, but by the actual, one has to assume, 170-year-old Confederate general himself.
And he had to have done this recently, because he's had to have put them in enough time that he expected Shaggy to find them.
And they're like up in a chimney and in an attic and in a boat. And apparently at some point he converted his fireplace into a slot machine, which I understand was all the rage during the antebellum, but if the mechanism was still working, it had to have been within the last at least 5 years.
Yeah.
I still never had to start a fire. That house looks drafty.
Yeah, so even well near 200 years old, this guy's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and actually, that's something else I wanted to bring up, because basically every character in this movie works out like a motherfucker. I mean, Scrappy is able to hold up Scooby when Scooby jumps in his arms. The chick is flinging Shaggy around like a rag doll.
And she bends the steel gun with her bare hands.
Twice.
Yeah.
And I really wish that they had bothered to resolve that, because how often does Shaggy get a girlfriend, really?
Running through my mind, there's reluctant werewolf girlfriend who's never mentioned again.
Right.
There's the one from the Alien Invaders who was an alien and then gets never mentioned again.
There's Mary Jane, but she's from the live action movie, so that doesn't count.
I'm trying to run through.
I think in one season it was Velma, but then she and Scooby hated each other. I didn't watch it.
It was Mystery Inc. I think it was implied that Shaggy and Velma were having some kind of thing going, but I didn't watch enough of that show to actually figure it out.
I mean, honestly, like the only prospect Shaggy really has romantically is when Sabella grows up. And actually, this has nothing to do with anything. But I figured this out the other day. Sabella, Sabelle, coincidence? I think not.
Or it could, in fact, be an entire coincidence.
It is not.
In case it's not being obvious already, there's frankly a lot less to talk about with this one than even Ghoul School, just because of how straightforward it is.
It's straightforward, but that actually just makes it even more confusing because each event is just presented matter-of-factly one after the other. It's not even presented in an over-the-top comedic sense. It's like everything flows naturally from one thing into the next, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I do seem to recall that of all the Scooby Doo movies, this is the one that was rerun on the Disney Channel the most. I mean, Ghoul School is the one everyone remembers, but this one was on like every day after school for like a solid month, I remember.
Well, truth be told, it's actually this one that I remember the most because they aired it on Cartoon Network one time. And so that's the one that was freshest in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I still can't get over that. They had Scooby Doo on the Disney Channel.
He's been thinking about this for an entire year now at this point, folks.
It's just, it boggles the mind. Disney, especially in the 90s, was a self-contained universe. There was no non-Disney. And yet, the non-believers, or I'm trying to think of a pun on, Jesus-ites or whatever. Goofyites? Archangel Goofriel or something? I don't know. But point being, that somehow the thieves got into the temple, and they fed us all their devious influences, and that's why we're so fucked up as a society, because our cartoons are all miscegenated, and that's the way we like it.
So how about them Boo Brothers?
Well, honestly, I wanted to be annoyed by the Three Stooges knockoffness of the whole thing, but they're just not in the movie enough. I think out of like 88 minutes, they're in 6.
Yeah, even despite the fact that their names on the title and on the DVD case, they're frankly a rather minor role in this movie. They just Shaggy calls them up.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "Okay, we'll take care of your ghost problem."
Right.
Then they leave for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to make a couple jokes.
Right.
Leave again. Come back to throw a party in the house.
Mm-hmm.
At which point Shaggy points out, "You guys have not done anything."
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like only one of the 3 ever has a scene on their own. The one with the green hat.
Yeah, the green hat guy has a couple solo scenes where he does do something mildly useful, like when they get... Because there's a scene where Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy get trapped behind a piano wall.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense in context, not really. So then, green hat guy, because that's his most defining feature.
Well, he goes, nah, a lot like he's Jabberjaw.
Either way, green hat guy's most defining feature. He gets them out by hitting the switch that lets them back out, and then later tries to rescue them when Shaggy falls off the roof, which doesn't go well because he's a very weak ghost apparently.
Yeah, and so there's something about a robot horse I vaguely remember.
Yeah, there's a robot horse in this movie. There's not much to elaborate on from there. It's just a thing. Frankly, the most interesting part of the robot horse is when Scrappy gives it to the gorilla, and now there's a random... So this is one of the rare movies where you can see a gorilla riding a mechanical horse.
Oh, speaking of the gorilla, I'm glad you reminded me of this because I think, and I know I'm not being crazy here, but there was a definite running subcontext that the gorilla was in love with Scooby Doo.
I'm not sure about love. We already have the romantic plot points from Shaggy and what's her name. Maybe just animal relation.
Like with gorillas and kittens?
Just like, we understand that we're both animals in this weird, bizarre world, and for some reason we can talk.
Yeah, and that's the additional tragedy of Shaggy not nailing down this incredibly beautiful pigtail-wearing blonde woman who goes around in Daisy Dukes and bare feet in the swamp in the middle of the night. Admittedly, their relationship would not have been long for this world, but Shaggy, if you're listening, you need to lock that down.
I'm pretty sure Shaggy's not listening.
He's not real. None of this is real. I mean, I'm real. You might not be.
We'll figure that out later.
No, we won't. I refuse.
Nah, we're probably not going to do that either. Alright, anything else out of this, or?
We did have someone watch with us. Lana, you have anything you want to say about it?
Special guest.
Hi. It was
Yeah,
it was funny.
Yeah, speak louder.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Boring. More Boo Brothers. Not enough.
Yeah, I was definitely drifting a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's so straightforward that after a while I just started losing interest.
And it's Scooby Doo, you know, like, even at its most poorly written, it's usually at least consistently funny.
Yeah, and there's some funny jokes.
Yeah. You know, it's not like devoid of joy, but you know, it lacks the natural flow that sets up the joke. It's just punchline. It's like, wait, whoa, slow down, man. Let me get my bearings here.
Yeah.
Broke my heart, Scooby Doo. Broke my heart.
Like I said, at the end of the day, it's not something I disliked.
Right.
But if we weren't doing this as our annual tradition, I didn't see much of a reason to watch it again.
Now, I was actually thinking of bringing Scooby Doo and Curse of the Vampire or something, but you said you had this, so I'm like, killer.
Alright.
Alright, well, that's another MAGFest in the books. Catch you kids next time.
Good night, everybody.